Hello everybody, this is Colleen Pearl, the Cool Crone. Thanks for coming and joining me for my first ever ET Pick a Card reading. We have cards for the Orange Selenite, the Amethyst Sphere, and the Angelite Palm Stone. So take a moment, focus on the piles, and just see which one really calls to you. And I'll just give you a moment. All right, so now we're going to do the reading for the Orange Selenite, and I've shuffled the cards here, and I'm using my new decks that are all having to do with ETs and UFOs. So the first deck that I'm going to point out is I have a tarot deck that's based on UFOs, and although this is in Russian, it is actually called UFO Tarot, and it looks like that. It actually came from Ukraine. The seller was in Ukraine. And as I was shuffling these cards, I was going to pick three, and one extra card just flew out of the deck. And that one is it, so I'm going to use that one at the end. And I'm just going to go ahead and see what's up with these cards. Okay. And then I picked one of the ET Experiencer cards. This is the ET Experiencer Oracle Deck by Tana Newberry and Misha Johnston. So that's a fun deck. We're going to look at that one. And we'll just go ahead and flip up that card. And then the next deck that I'm using are the Extraterrestrial Universal Oracle cards by Scott Kubly. Spiritual Essence is his YouTube channel, and Scott, thank you very much for these cards. They are amazing. And so we'll be using those, and we get two of those. And again, two jumped out. I had intended to only pick one, but for every pile, more than one jumped out of the deck, so they really wanted to be read. And we'll go ahead and turn this one over too. So without any further ado, we're going to get going on what these cards actually mean. So it's a little hard to tell with the UFO deck because the symbols are subtle. So if you look at this one, this is the 6, and I'm going to say it is the 6 of Swords, not Wands, because it is people moving to a different destination. So that's the 6 of Swords. And in this deck, it's read a little bit differently than the Rider-Waite deck. So in this deck, rather than just saying you're moving from stormy to clear waters, what this 6 of Swords means is that the ability to change the situation is your willingness to adapt. So if you can adapt to the situation, then you can change things. But if you're unable to adapt, you might not be able to change them so easily. And then we have the 7 of Swords. Is usually the guy who is, I'm sorry, not 7 of Swords, 7 of Wands. This is showing that this guy is in a greenhouse, and he notices next to his regular plants he has some extraordinary plants that are glowing. And for this deck, what it means is that when you see something new, if you're afraid of it, it can block your vision. It can cloud you from moving on in a forward direction just because of your fear. And right now on our planet, there are a lot of people who are operating out of fear. So what we want to do is to calm everybody to allow them to see that there's nothing wrong or fearful about things that are new or different. And this can apply not only to communing with star people or aliens or ETs, whatever you want to call them, people from other places, but this can also apply to just humans on Earth getting along with each other. I know we have a lot of people who look at groups of people and label them other, and I think what this card is saying is that that provokes fear. When you notice that something is the other, it provokes fear, and it stops you from doing what you think is right, and it also stops your creative process. It stops your process of thinking what to do next, and it kind of holds you back. It kind of binds you in a way. And then the final card is strength. There we go, strength. I'm just going to read the little blip that they had to send me. I had to write to the seller, and I said, this is such a great deck, but I'm trying to locate a book in English, and the only book that I can find costs $500. So, I mean, I don't know what to do, because I'm just going to have to interpret everything intuitively. And they sent me a little cheat sheet. So I'm just going to look at the cheat sheet here. For their strength, the way they're interpreting it, they're saying courage and will can harmonize spirituality and depravity, necessity and fear. So again, this idea that there is a duality that kind of messes you up. If you allow yourself to see the negative or ugliness of things, you won't see the beauty, and you won't operate out of a place of strength yourself. So in order to operate out of a place of strength, you need to tap into your courage and then go with what your courage tells you to do. This is the virtue, the characteristic in human beings that will harmonize our relationships with one another and harmonize our relationships with the other. So I think it's a really clear message here for the people who picked the orange selenite, that either you have experienced things that are a little bit different, maybe you have had contact with ETs, or maybe you've been dreaming about ETs, and the thought of actually coming into contact with them, or whatever you've been dreaming about and trying to manifest, still somewhat frightens you. And you still may be harboring some judgments about the other. And that's what you need to work on. Now let's look at the Extraterrestrial Universal Oracle cards by Scott. And the first card that we have says, mysteries of your soul are within your choices. Deja vu, interests, and dreams. So this goes along really well with the tarot cards, because it's telling you that the things that you're looking for are both very new and very ancient. They are both within you and without. And so again, if you are fearful of the things that are new and outside of your cosmos, outside of your understanding, then it pays to try to suspend your judgment and look at things with as fresh a pair of eyes as you can, to release fear as much as you can and look at things as clearly as you can. And here's a little advice from the next card from Scott. It says, use earth energy to ground yourself. So a lot of times when we get into situations where we're fearful, or we just don't know what to expect, we're apprehensive, maybe not even in fear yet, we're just anxious and in apprehension. And if you can ground yourself at that moment when you feel, your stomach just flipping all around, or maybe it's your heart or your throat just flipping all over the place and you can't control it, take a deep breath and blow it out. And then imagine that beautiful cord of white light going all the way from your crown chakra down through all your other chakras, down through your feet, down into the ground, to anchor yourself in the earth. And then bring that earth energy up into your body, and you will feel connected with the planet that you're on, and realize that you're not going anywhere. So whatever comes your way, you can handle it. And the next to the last card is the ET Experiencer Oracle card, and it says, Soul Family. You share contact with your soul family. So this goes even further to erase the fear that if you are going to be making contact or reaching out to ETs or other beings of your own lineage, and this is about how do you figure out your lineage. And this is the person who picked the orange selenite, that it looks like you don't know your lineage yet. You don't quite understand it, and you may be a little fearful about what you're going to find out. But the oracle card here says that you're going to share contact with a soul family. So when you do meet these other beings, whether it's by astral travel, whether it's in your just plain old regular dreams, or whether you actually make contact with a conscious state of mind that you can remember, it's your soul family. And when you meet beings like that, it feels like home. It feels like you're a part of them. So don't worry about it. It's going to be fine. And the last card that we have, and I keep having to look back. Can you see what I keep mixing up, whether this symbol down here where my thumb is, whether these are swords or wands? Because to me, the swords and the wands, I don't see a huge distinction between them. And I don't really see what I mean? They're both long, narrow objects. I know they have different things on the end, but it's just a little, I'm not used to working with this deck yet. So this is the wands, and this is the Four of Wands. And you can see this looks very different from the Rider-Waite Four of Wands, but it's the same message. It's the message of a gathering of a family. And so in this instance, the family appears to be otherworldly, so people who are not necessarily from this planet. But remember, they are your soul family. So I can see now why that card jumped out for you, because this is all about you reconnecting. Look, even the first card that I read is about connecting with new people. But in this case, it's your family. It's not really new at all. It's people that you're really a part of. So that's the reading for the orange selenite. I hope you liked it. You are my inaugural reading. You're the very first of this whole video. And so I hope I did a good job, and I'm sure it'll get better over time. But thank you for this. And now we're going to move on to the Amethyst Sphere. Okay, now we're going to be doing the reading for the people who chose the Amethyst Sphere. I have it in a little bowl here so it doesn't roll away. And I've shuffled the cards, and I've got 3 UFO Tarot cards. These are Russian cards. I could not find a deck in English that was UFO Tarot, but I did find one in Russian. And I actually bought this from somebody in the Ukraine on Etsy, which I think is very hopeful. I'm also using, let's see, what else am I using? I'm using the Extraterrestrial Universal Oracle cards by Scott Kubly, and his website is Spiritual Essence. He created these cards, and they're just wonderful. They're real easy to connect to. And then I have one other oracle card that is the Star Temple Oracle by Susie Cherub. And these cards are just magnificent. When you see them, you'll see why I love them. Okay, so I have a couple of other decks that I bought that I haven't started using yet because I really need to study them. So I'm really excited about doing these ET readings, and I can't wait to get better at working with the cards, but I'm sure you'll get something out of this reading too. So first things first, I'm just going to look at the cards and see what we have. And for now, I'm going to read the UFO Tarot cards upright. I'm not even going to attempt to do reverse because it's, for me, just getting used to the different symbology of this deck is plenty. And you'll see that it's really different symbology. Let's look at so there's the Star Temple card. And then for the Extraterrestrial Universal Oracle cards. I intended to pick 2 for each pile, but a third one jumped out, so I kept it. So we have 3 of these cards. I'll just put this one over here. Okay, let's get going. So the first tarot card that we have from the UFO Tarot is the King of Cups. You can see him there. He's sitting on his throne. You can see the big sphere floating in front of him. There seems to be a portal or a window or something next to him. He's sitting on his throne, and I won't even attempt to guess what that platform is that's sitting in front of him, some kind of a desk or table or something. The King of Cups always wants mutual understanding. Like the King of Cups in the Rider-Waite deck, this is a more emotional being. This is somebody who can negotiate, bring people together, understand things, is very empathic, very intuitive, very nurturing. And so they want mutual understanding, and they always think that that is the first place that you need to go. The second tarot card that we have is the 7 of Coins or Pentacles. I'll just show you. And in this deck, although this is about the earth, this card is about knowledge. And it says that knowledge gives us inner growth. So the more we know, the more we can grow. Now, in the Rider-Waite deck, the 7 of Pentacles is the person who is waiting for their harvest to come in and is anxiously trying to pick the crops before they're even ripe. But I think this is a really different deck, so I'm going to throw that meaning out the window and just go back to the inner knowledge. So Pentacles do rule the body, and I think if you go within, you'll find that you do have the answers, and the answers will lead you to what you will come to know as your own inner knowledge, and that is a very good thing. The third card is the Empress in this deck, and you'll notice the way she is standing. She has a huge sphere behind her. There we go. So the Empress, for her, she says, opening your heart and understanding the suffering of others can heal you, which is a really interesting concept. Usually the Empress is just bestowing, nurturing and helping and fostering things. She's very fertile. Sometimes she's shown as being pregnant. In this deck, it just says, open your heart and understanding others. This can heal suffering. And it implies, I think, your own suffering. So let's look at these 3 cards together. Now, the intention of this reading was to find out the lineage of your starseed race. And what I see here are a variety. These could be almost any race. I don't know which races are particularly green, but he's very blue, and there's quite a few races that are blue. And in the other cards, I'm not seeing a particular connection to any one race. So when I find out what the green people are, they're probably connected with Venus. So I'm going to say Venusian here. But we have an oracle card that says, this is from the Electra portion of the deck, and it says, Goddess of Balance, Equality. I create and foster reciprocal relationships. So here we have, this guy is looking for inner knowledge. This guy wants mutual understanding, and she wants to understand others to alleviate suffering. So these are groupings of energies, including the Goddess of Balance, where people are trying to understand other people's environments, other people's situations. Now we can apply this to understanding the ET environment and cosmos and society, and the ET suffering or feelings of not belonging if they're here on Earth. So I'm going to say that the Goddess of Balance is going to help you create and foster reciprocal relationships. And let's move on. Prayers are answered. Help is on the way. So if you are suffering in any way, if you've got a dilemma that needs to be helped, know that you're not alone, and know that help is on the way, whether it's from ETs, ET guides, from a moment of contact, from angels, from wherever, that you're not alone, that you do have help, and you're surrounded really by your starseed family, whether you know it or not. The next card that we have from Scott's deck says, we are one. Universe and the planets have connected energy. And I think that's very true. I think we are all one, and I think we all do come from one place. I mean, over the millennia, it has become many places, but we still are connected and we still are one. The final card in this reading says, follow the wisdom of positive elders. So whoever those elders are in your life, that may be grandparents, that may be old friends, that may be people who have passed away, that may be your guides, it may be a mentor, it may be just a grandmother or a grandfather figure in your life that isn't actually biologically connected to you. So whoever it is that you think of as a positive elder, that's somebody that you can go and talk to, maybe about your lineage, maybe about ETs. You know, we all seem to think when we start talking about ETs and UFOs and contact that we're the only one, or that we're the only one in the small sea that we swim in, right? Our village, our town, our university, our neighborhood, and that nobody else thinks of this stuff. The truth is, lots of people think about this stuff, but lots of people also feel like they have to hide it. And it's time to bring it out of the shadows. It's time to start talking about our connections with ETs and aliens. And I know that Demi Lovato says we shouldn't call them aliens, and I kind of tend to agree. It does have kind of a negative connotation, like the word witch does. And I use the word witch as much as I can to try to bring it out of the shadows, which is what I think we should do with aliens, but I'm not going to fight Demi on this. She has a much bigger following than me. But I think that if you can seek out people that you have harmony with in your life, just in general, and broach this subject, I think you'll be pleasantly surprised. Almost everybody that I know, and especially members of my family, over the years we have begun to speak to each other about ETs and UFOs and what our contact has been. And it's amazing how many of us have a very similar backstory when it comes to these things. So you're not alone. There's no need to be afraid of any of this. We are all one, even the ETs. Most people, I would say probably everybody on the earth right now is a starseed. It's just whether or not you've chosen to begin to wake up or not. There are lots and lots of different lineages. I'm still learning all about them. The more I know, the more I will try to share with you. When I have something really substantive, I'll do a video about it. But at this point in time, I think what we all should be doing is try to figure out what your lineage is, learn more about them. It may explain a lot of things in your life. And then see if you can connect with other people who might have a similar lineage. Not to isolate yourself into those groups, but to grow your current soul family and group. So that's my advice anyway, and that's the reading for the people who chose the Amethyst Sphere. And now we're going to move on to the people who chose the Angelite Palm Stone. Okay, this is the reading for those of you who picked the blue Angelite Palm Stone. And I've shuffled the cards, and now I'm going to take a look at them, and we're going to get a reading. Okay, so we have... Okay. So yours was the only pile where I picked what I actually intended to pick. 3 tarot cards, 2 of the Scott Kubly Oracle cards, and 1 of the regular Oracle cards. So let's just turn these over and see what we got. Okay, fantastic. Oh, excellent. Okay, so for the people who chose the blue Angelite palm stone, you start out with 2 aces and then a 5. And 5s are usually challenges in the Rider-Waite tarot deck, but not in this deck. This is the UFO Tarot. This is a Russian deck, and I actually got it on Etsy, and the seller was in Ukraine, so that was kind of interesting. And they don't come with any English guidebook, but they did send me an English cheat sheet, thank goodness. So that's what I'm gonna, because I gotta tell you, I couldn't even tell the difference between the symbol for swords and wands. That it's very subtle. But now I got that down. Okay. So this is the Ace of Swords, the Ace of Coins, and the 5 of Coins. So first we have the Ace of Coins, and this is, these are really different. So this is the card, the Ace of Coins. Sorry for my thumb. I'll hide it there. This is the Ace of Coins, and it says, the profit should cover the needs. Excessiveness is a risk. So if you're dealing with a business of some kind, or managing the money for your family, or just managing your own resources, time, your health, your body, you should not take excessive risks. It's not going to be worth it. You should always be able to cover yourself, basically. And if you can't, then you should stop taking those risks. So that's the first thing. Now, is investigating your starseed lineage a risk? I don't think so. So let's look at the next card, the 5 of Coins. And the 5 of Coins says, the first step to happiness is acknowledging your worries and fears. But look at the picture here. These guys are just noticing that there are spaceships in the air, multiple spaceships in the air, and they're wondering why. And at this point they have a choice. Should they be afraid of the spaceships, or should they just enjoy the sight? Should they just enjoy that they're witnessing something amazing? If they can overcome their worries and fears, which would be, oh my God, that's going to come and hurt us, and just turn it around to, what is that? That's amazing in the sky, they could probably have a much better experience. And notice that the Ace of Coins was actually represented by a spaceship that had kind of, I guess, dropped into the earth, or landed kind of like one side up. Interesting. So I do think that this indicates that you are probably going to be meeting your people from your star lineage, or you already have. And the Ace of Swords indicates that self-knowledge is achieved by accepting other people's contradictions. Kind of an amazing message. Most of the time, the aces in the Rider-Waite deck are telling us that something new is happening. And I still think that the aces in this deck do say that something new is happening, but what they're saying is happening is a little bit different. So in this, swords are ideas. And so when you acknowledge other people's contradictions, that's when you understand yourself better, because their contradictions contradict you. So if you can acknowledge that, it gives you that much more information about who you really are. With the first one, the Ace of Pentacles, we're talking about excessiveness, that the profit should cover the needs. Excessiveness is a risk, that you should not go out on a limb, either with your body or your money or your health. You shouldn't go out on a limb. You should be able to handle things. Now, if you think that you have been a person who was actually brought onto a ship and maybe they took samples from you, or maybe they just observed you, maybe they just took your temperature, your pulse, that doesn't mean that they're harming you, right? And you have not taken any kind of a risk, except that, remember, the ETs are not going to do anything to you unless you agree to it. Unless you agree to come on a ship, you're not going on a ship. So you have to agree to these things. And all of us have contracts about our lives here on Earth. So it only stands to reason that some of that contract would include interaction with ETs. Because we came from the ETs. We are all connected to the ETs. I believe that everybody on Earth right now has a starseed lineage. So the title of this video is a little deceptive. What is my starseed lineage, or how do I find out my starseed lineage? We all have a starseed lineage. We just probably have a pretty complex one by now because we've had so many thousands of lives. And in between our Earth lives, I believe we go back to the stars. Our ancestors probably mated back with their star family, so that enhanced the DNA flowing through us that is from the stars. So I think by now a lot of us, I know I've been examining my starseed lineage lately, and I'm a Heinz 57, man. I got a lot of different starseeds in my lineage. So that, I think, just goes to show that, you know, we've been descended from the stars for millennia, many millennia. And what we know about history is just a drop in the ocean compared to what's really out there. All right, so let's move on to the Oracle cards by Scott. And this card, it shows a person facing what looks like an alien person. And it says, love and connect with other souls. So you are going to connect. You're definitely going to connect with other people who either are actually ETs living in one of the starships, or on another star, in another star system, or you're going to meet other hybrids who are people on Earth who are descended from star people. And then this card, also from Scott, says, believe what is right in front of you. So if you've seen UFOs, you know, then you know that there's got to be people inside those ships. There's got to be beings who are running those ships, who are making things happen on those ships. And in fact, if you read a little bit about the UFO experiences that we know about, you'll find out that they have been mingling with us for millennia. And so, like I just said, everybody on Earth is a starseed. It just depends on how awake you are, how much you want to be awake. And the last card says Star Brothers, Horus energy, protection, loyalty, safety, trust. The people that you're going to connect with in this endeavor are your soul family, your star family. And so what I would encourage you to do is to begin having conversations with the people that you know, even if you think it's going to sound crazy that you're talking about UFOs and ETs. Because I think what you'll find is several people who have also had experiences that are willing to share it with you as long as you broach the subject. And the fear of all this differentness will begin to just fall away. And that's the goal, is to get people to not worry about the differences and to be able to just handle the fact that the ETs are here. We are descended from ETs. We are a blend and hybrid of DNA from humans and ETs. And we should get to know them. We should get to know ourselves as far as our ET lineage goes. So that's the reading for the people who chose the blue Angelite palm stone. I hope you liked the reading. I really am excited about using these cards. They're so different. They're just so different from anything that I've worked with before. I mean, it was very different when I started using angel cards and fairy cards. That took some getting used to because there was a whole bunch of knowledge that went behind the cards. Same with these. I mean, I am just scratching the surface on the information that I have about UFOs and ETs. And I will share more and more of it with you as I gather more and more. But for anybody who's interested out there, start reading Dolores Cannon. Or you can get it on Audible. I got it on Audible and I just listened to a bunch of her books, and you learn a lot from that. And from there, you can branch out to other people. There's many other people out there that have a lot of information. So that's the ET readings. This was my maiden voyage for ET readings. Thank you so much for joining me. And leave me some comments down below. Let me know what you thought. I really thought we were going to get some names of ETs in here, and we didn't, but that's okay. We'll get that next time. All right. Thank you, everybody. See you next time.